Walk us through what happened, what Mark Zuckerberg wrote, and what led us to this moment.
So this is all about Mark Zuckerberg bringing Facebook back to its roots as a social network. So that means reprioritizing posts from friends and family. He's trying to retweak the algorithm so that the stuff you see first is what's going to convince you to share and like and write comments back and forth. So maybe a friend asking for advice on a vacation, and that's going to be prioritized over articles that consist of this sort of passive reading. And Facebook's own internal researchers found that sort of passive consumption is not good for people's health. It makes them feel bad. And he wants to make social media feel good again. This also follows some quarters where there's actually been declining consumption on Facebook amid this PR crisis of fake news, dissemination of propaganda. So Zuckerberg really wants to redirect that conversation around Facebook.
I also want to bring in Brian Weiser, Pivotal Research Analyst, joining us now from Portland. Brian, what do you make of this? How big of an impact will it have on the experience of Facebook and the business of Facebook?
Yeah, well, it all remains to be seen. It's pretty clear from my analysis of data that I have that usage per user was already falling based on some limited data, but high quality data we have from Nielsen for August and September. So in large part, this may be responding to trends that were already occurring. And to the extent that they're recognizing that there were real problems with the experience that consumers were having, and they're responding to it, that's positive. Now, from a perspective of the broader ecosystem that Facebook has made itself a critical part of, this is bad news for publishers in general, at least initially, to the extent that they have been relying on Facebook for distribution of their content through organic means. Facebook will just be a less important place to go. From an advertiser perspective, it's not clear, but if there is less consumption, one might reasonably assume there will be less ad inventory, and that would mean higher prices, possibly less revenue. But that's not entirely clear. There may be the same amount of inventory as before.
Selena, how much do you think this has to do with Facebook's concerns about, user engagement versus concerns about, meddling in the election and, Facebook putting us in our sort of respective ideological silos and creating more divisiveness rather than less?
I really think it's a combination of both, and they're both connected. As Brian mentioned, there's already been decreasing engagement, so Facebook is responding to that. They need to keep those numbers up in the long term. They want people to feel safe when they come to Facebook and feel like it's a place that they want to continually engage in. But as Brian said, that could mean that advertisers and brands and publishers will turn to other platforms like Twitter, like Snap, like LinkedIn. This could be very good for them. But at the same time, I did speak to some marketers who said that their clients plan on staying on Facebook. But now the key is to focus on influencers and actual individuals and people to spread the message versus these big public brand profile pages.
To that point, Brian, does it appear to you that this is more morally or business motivated?
I think it's both. I mean, I think that Zuckerberg genuinely is thinking about the long-term impact of every decision they make on the platform. And I think that when they're looking at the long-term health of the overall enterprise, whether you look at it through a commercial or a social lens, I think they're looking out for the long term here, not so worried about the short term.
So, Selena, what are we hearing from advertisers and people who work with Facebook? How do they feel about this?
So in terms of the people that are going to be hurting the most from this change, it's going to be the smaller companies, newer upstart publishers like a BuzzFeed, like a Vox, that have really been relying on Facebook to spread their content and their growth in numbers and impressions. And I did speak with a startup founder who said that he grew most of his business through Facebook engagement and had been spending about 90% of his ad budget on Facebook. But as a result of this, he realizes that his content will no longer be prioritized to users, and he's now going to be looking towards other means. So he's already starting to switch his ad budget more towards YouTube and Twitter as a result of this. And a lot of these startups are also very frustrated because they felt like Facebook said one thing a while ago and they completely changed their strategy, and now they're sort of backtracking on that.